From the outside, it looks like one of the smallest barndominiums you've ever seen. A simple steel building, a small front porch, nothing that suggests anything extraordinary. Then the front door opens. The ceiling soars nearly 2 stories high. A loft appears above the kitchen. A hidden second bedroom comes into view. Suddenly, a tiny footprint feels twice its size. So how is that possible? Today, we're uncovering the clever design tricks that make a small barndominium feel incredibly spacious, what it really costs to build, and the costly mistakes that leave many lofts cramped, dark, and barely usable. By the end of this video, you'll know how a tiny Barndo can live like a much larger home. Before we dive in, welcome to Barndo Dreams, where we uncover the real costs, smarter designs, and hidden ideas behind today's most impressive barndominiums. If you enjoy honest, no-hype build breakdowns, subscribe, like this video, and turn on notifications so you never miss an episode. Now, let's step inside one of the smartest small barndominium designs you'll see. So how does a tiny barndominium feel so much bigger than it looks? It all comes down to height. Take a simple 24 by 30 foot barndominium. On paper, that's just 720 square feet. But unlike many traditional homes, a barndominium steel or post-frame structure allows for tall vaulted ceilings, often reaching 14 to 18 feet. That extra height completely transforms the space. Instead of feeling cramped, the home feels open and expansive. Then comes the real trick, the loft. Rather than building a full second story, you're simply adding a platform inside the existing open space. No second foundation, no extra exterior walls, just smart use of the volume you already have. That's how a 720 square foot barndominium can provide the functionality of 1,000 square feet or more, without increasing the home's footprint. It's one of the smartest design advantages a tiny barndominium has. 3 design choices separate a tiny Barndo that feels enormous from one that just feels tiny with a hole in the ceiling. First, open concept ground floors. Nearly every well-reviewed small Barndo plan combines the kitchen, dining, and living zones into one continuous room instead of chopping it into hallways and doorways. No hallway can easily eat 20 to 40 square feet of a small footprint, space that, in a tiny plan, is the difference between a real dining table and a folding one. Combine the zones, and a 700 square foot layout reads like it's pushing 1,000, because your eye travels uninterrupted from the front door to the back window. Second, the staircase decision. This sounds minor. It is not. A ladder to the loft costs you almost nothing in floor space, but also makes the loft a once-a-day space. Fine for storage or an occasional guest. Miserable if you're the one sleeping up there every night carrying laundry. A real staircase, even a tight spiral one, typically eats somewhere around 20 square feet of your ground floor. But it turns the loft into daily livable square footage instead of an obstacle course. If you're planning to actually live in that loft, not just visit it, the stair earns its footprint back many times over. Third, sliding glass and porch integration. Wraparound porches and sliding glass walls are showing up constantly in 2020 XS small Barndo plans. And it's not just aesthetic. A covered porch functions as outdoor square footage you didn't pay full interior finish cost for. And sliding glass at the great room blurs the line between inside and outside, enough that a 700 square foot interior feels like it's borrowing the whole yard. It's the same trick restaurants use with patio seating. The room feels bigger because your eye doesn't stop at the wall. If you look across the small Barndo plans getting built this year, a handful of loft layouts keep repeating because they solve the space problem in different ways. The sleeping loft over the living room is the most common configuration. It sits directly above the great room, open on 1 or 2 sides with a rail instead of a wall, so the vaulted ceiling stays visible from the ground floor, and the whole home still reads as one tall volume instead of 2 stack boxes. This layout works best when the loft is used for a primary bed or a guest bed rather than daily storage, since access usually means a real staircase. The office and reading nook loft is the second pattern, and it's popular with buyers who work from home. Instead of a bed, the loft holds a desk, a small bookshelf, and a window seat tucked under the roofline. Because it doesn't need full standing height across the whole space, this version can work even on a shell with a more modest roof pitch, and it skips the egress requirements that come with a sleeping loft in most jurisdictions. The split loft layout is the most ambitious version, and it's showing up more in 2026 kit-to-build plans. One loft sits over the kitchen for storage, pantry overflow, seasonal decor, off-season gear, and a second, separate loft sits over the bedroom wing for sleeping. This splits the bonus space into a working zone and a living zone, so you're not tripping over storage bins next to the bed. Then there's the mezzanine with catwalk version. More statement piece than space efficiency move. A narrow walkway connects two loft areas across the open volume of the great room, usually with exposed steel or timber railing. It looks spectacular on camera, but it eats disproportionate footage relative to what it adds in usable floor space. So it tends to show up on larger builds, 900 square feet and up, rather than the truly compact ones. Across all four, the common thread is that the loft's purpose is decided before the roof pitch is decided, not after. Builders who nail the tiny outside, massive inside effects start with how the loft will actually be used, then engineer the shell height and stair placement around that answer. The vaulted loft approach isn't just a visual illusion. It comes with real, practical upsides that matter after move-in day. Lower land and site costs. A smaller footprint means a smaller foundation, less site grading, and often an easier fit on irregular or sloped rural lots, where a sprawling single-story ranch simply wouldn't fit the buildable area. Lower ongoing utility costs, with a caveat. A tiny Barndo's smaller exterior wall area and roof footprint mean less surface for heat to escape through in winter, which generally lowers your baseline heating cost compared to a spread-out home with the same square footage. The caveat, which we covered in the mistake section, is that the vaulted volume itself needs to be conditioned properly, or you lose some of that efficiency gain to a hot, stagnant loft. Simpler permitting in some jurisdictions. A smaller footprint and lower finished square footage can put you into a less complex permitting tier, particularly if part of the home falls under a tiny house or accessory dwelling appendix instead of the full residential code. Worth confirming with your local building department before you assume it, since this varies significantly by state. Resale flexibility. Compact barndos with a loft tend to appeal to a wider buyer pool than a rigid two-bedroom ranch. Young couples, downsizing retirees, and remote workers all see different uses for the same loft space, which can work in your favor at resale. Quick gut check before we move into mistakes. If you're mentally sketching your own tiny barndo right now, pause and ask yourself one question. Is the loft a bedroom you'll use every single night, or a guest space you'll use 6 times a year? That answer decides almost every design choice in the next section, so keep it in mind. Mistake 1. Skylights without ventilation. A fixed skylight over a loft looks beautiful in the renderings and turns the loft into a greenhouse by 2 p.m. in July. If you want natural light up there, spec an operable, venting skylight, not a fixed one. It costs more up front and saves you from a loft that's unusable half the year. Mistake 2. Putting the loft over the bathroom. Bathroom exhaust ducting is rarely airtight enough to fully contain odor and moisture, and a loft directly above it will catch both. Push the loft over the living or kitchen zone instead, and keep the bathroom stack tucked under a lower ceiling utility area. Mistake 3. Undersizing loft clearance at the bed. If you're putting a real bed up there, plan for at least a foot of clearance on the long sides where the roofline slopes down. Skimp on that, and you end up with a bed you can't fully make from the floor, and a headboard wall you can't sit up against without ducking. Mistake 4. Ignoring the temperature gradient. Heat rises, and in an open vault design, a loft can run 8 to 15 degrees warmer than the main floor in summer if you don't plan for it. A ceiling fan alone won't fix that gap. You need either a dedicated mini split head up there or a return air path that actually pulls the hot air back down instead of trapping it. Mistake 5, and this is the one that trips up more first-time builders than any other. Treating the loft as free square footage in your budget. It isn't. Every square foot of usable loft still needs subfloor, insulation, electrical, HVAC reach, and in most cases a code-compliant guardrail and emergency egress point if it's used for sleeping. Appendix Q-style tiny house codes, adopted in various forms across states, generally require loft guards at least 36 inches high, stairway or ladder access meeting minimum width and headroom rules, and an emergency escape opening if anyone sleeps up there. Skip that planning step, and your bonus square footage becomes a change order that blows the budget after framing is already up. Cost-wise, small Barndominium builds are generally landing somewhere in a range of $80 to $140 per square foot, depending on region, finish level, and whether you're going red iron, light gauge steel, or a hybrid post-frame shell, meaningfully below the cost per square foot of a comparable conventional stick-built home, largely because steel framing simplifies the shell and the open floor plans reduce interior wall and hallway costs. But don't calculate your budget off ground floor square footage alone. Price the loft as its own line item. Flooring, railing, electrical runs, and HVAC extension all add up, even though you're not pouring new foundation or framing a full second story of exterior wall. Before you finalize a plan, walk through 4 questions with your builder. 1. What's the finished ceiling height at the loft's lowest usable point, and does it meet your state's minimum? Typically somewhere around 6 feet 8 inches for habitable space, with reduced allowances directly under the roofline. 2. Is the stair or ladder access code compliant for the loft's actual use? Meaning, does a sleeping loft get stair access and egress, versus a storage loft that might get away with a ladder? 3. Where does your HVAC supply and return live? And has anyone modeled how hot that loft gets without it? 4. What's your local jurisdiction's stance on lofts for square footage calculations? Some appraisers and tax assessors count loft space differently than main floor space, which matters both for resale value and for your insurance replacement cost estimate. Get those 4 answers locked down before the shell goes up, and the tiny outside, massive inside, Barndo stops being a trick of camera angles and becomes a home that actually lives as big as it looks in the drone shot. That's the blueprint behind the illusion. Small footprint, borrowed height, and a loft that earns its keep instead of becoming dead space. But knowing how to build big inside a small shell only gets you halfway there. The other half is the number that makes or breaks the whole project: your actual budget. Next episode, we're putting a specific figure under the microscope. Is $175,000 the perfect Barndominium budget? Or is that number a myth builders used to get you in the door? We're breaking down exactly where that money goes and where it quietly disappears. Subscribe so you don't miss it, and we'll see you in the next one.